Don't lose your coverage. Key insurance tips for Black women leaving toxic jobs. So, this is for Black women if you're interested in leaving a toxic job, maybe you're trying to make preparation steps, maybe you're just thinking about it. We're going to talk about some important information for you as you're planning to leave a toxic job. So, as Black women, we know that we prepare, we get ready. So, this is information to help you get ready. And I just want to ask you, are you in a situation where you're in a job, either it's a toxic job or a job that you've outgrown, and you really want to leave, feel stuck because you're concerned about how to replace your income and what to do about your insurance benefits? If this is you, you will have information by the time we leave today about your options for your health insurance. So, thank you for joining today. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a toxic job survivor. More importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. I am also the co-host with Marissa Price of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, which has already passed. So if you want to be a part of that and learn how to replace your income and more about insurance issues, you can get the replay. So we ushered over 300 Black women to freedom this past May. So again, if you want to get the replay, that information is in the description section. So without further ado, I will turn it over to my guest, Candace, for her to introduce herself.
Hi, Dr. Kamani. Hello, off to all the Black women out there. Thank you for having me. My name is Candace Coston, and I am a licensed life and health insurance broker. My resident state that I'm licensed in is Pennsylvania. However, I'm licensed in 39 states across the United States. I've been helping retirees and pre retirees plan for their retirement insurance needs for 14 years now. And I'm really happy to be here. I also, for a little bit throughout those 14 years when I was going through some transition, left a toxic work environment myself. So I have some personal
Mhm.
experience with this as well.
Oh, that's a bonus. I didn't even know that, Candace.
No, I
It's
had
so
to
not
decide
surprised
how
to
I
me.
was going to portray that information, but certainly, yeah, I've had a toxic job, and some of the things that I might reference here, may or may not have done personally.
That's really good to know. So I just want to tell everybody how I met Candace. Both of us are in Stephanie Perry's YouTube Success Society. And
Mhm.
we share out. And again, shout out to Stephanie Perry. That's how I started my YouTube channel. That's how so many Black women have started their YouTube channel. And so Candace was talking about what she does, what she focuses on. And again, I have her information on the screen, her YouTube channel information. So please check it out. So I thought it would be really good to have her on to talk specifically about insurance benefits. Now, you heard me and you saw in real time that I found out that Candace also has a history of being in a toxic job. And I was surprised, but not really. Surprised, like, oh, I
Mhm.
didn't know that about you, but not surprised because unfortunately, so many Black women have at least one toxic job experience and usually more than one. So,
Mhm.
Candace, let's jump into the conversation, okay?
Okay.
So when I've talked to Black women or I talk on my channel or other things that I've done, Black women have said to me, I really cannot stand this job. This job is draining me. It just sucks all the life out of me. I want out, but I can't leave because I don't know how to replace my income. I got bills and I have these good health insurance benefits, right? And
Mhm.
Stephanie Perry talks about this too, but a job is not a good job if it's harming you. And if you're accessing your healthcare benefits because the job is making you sick, not a good job. So let us talk about what are our possible options because I really want Black women to know of our options because when we feel stuck, that's what contributes like the depression and anxiety. So I want you to think about and talk about our options in relation to insurance. So can we talk a little bit about the
Mhm.
important considerations for Black women who want to leave a job either because it's toxic and or they've outgrown it? So what are some important insurance considerations for us to know about?
Okay, great first question. So first, let me just preface all of this information is that there's no one size fits all for insurance or for really anything financially. You know, everyone's situation is different, and you're always going to have to consider your risk because at the end of the day, that's what insurance is. It's a transfer of risk.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, it's a transfer of a financial risk. So the first part of your question mentioned, I can't leave this job because of my health insurance. And so oftentimes that's why we have jobs. that's why we keep a job, is mainly because of our health insurance. So the first thing, that I would consider is, what are my current benefits at my current employer that I do not like, right? So I know you've had several women on to talk about this, but what can I get from my employer while I'm still here? So if I do have health insurance currently, am I maximizing that? If I have, short-term disability, if I am seeing the doctor for a disability, right? Then maybe I can actually use my short term disability benefits. Maybe you just need a break from your job first, right? So, your short term disability is an insurance that you may or may not have at your employer, right? So now you have a time off from work, you have a moment to decompress, you even have a moment and some time to really formulate your next plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that time off or sabbatical from work was not enough time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, does your employer offer FMLA coverage? Most
Mm-hmm.
likely your employer does. Is that something I can take advantage of? And I'll still have health care there, right? Have I looked at my employee handbook to see what all my benefits are, right? Now, obviously, like Dr. Roche said last week, we have to consider our own income, our own savings, and how much risk do we have? We have to look at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So then, to get to the next part of your question, when we think about healthcare, we have to consider our own health. You know, am I taking any medications? Do I just see the doctor annually just because I know I need to see the doctor? Am I healthy, or am I seeing the doctor every month? Am I going to, specialists? Do I have a cardiologist, endocrinologist? Am I going to specialists? Do I have children and a spouse to consider? Do I have children and a spouse that are on my health insurance, or do I have a spouse that I can be on that his or her health insurance? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What is my age? What is my health? What is the cost of it? Am I leaving? Am I considering leaving? Again, do I need a break or a sabbatical? Whereas in this case, I can use my short-term disability or my FMLA, right? Am I retiring? Am I going to be self-employed? Am I going to have income? Am I going to have a spouse's income? Am I
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to be on a spouse's health care? So the first thing we think about when we're leaving a toxic job is often our health care.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think about replacing our health insurance. We have to think about, going to our state's official healthcare market website, which could be healthcare.gov, or in Pennsylvania, it could be Penny, and shopping around and seeing what those plans are.
Wait, can you say that again? You said healthcare.gov. I'm gonna put that in.
Care.gov, but it depends on the state, right? You can go there and look to see where they send you in regards to your state. You put your state in there, and if you're in Pennsylvania like me, they may send you to penny.com, where you'll see all the different healthcare plans.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if you're in another state, they might send you to just different agencies that offer health insurance.
Got it. Got
We
it.
have to think about how we're going to replace our income. Are we going to use dividends from the stock market, or are we going to use some income benefits from an insurance product called an annuity? Are we going to take our 401k and put it into a brokerage account and have a little bit of risk and have the gains of the stock market with dividends? Or are we going to use an actual insurance product and create income that we cannot outlive or for a set period of time, right? And have access to the lump sum, which is using an annuity. So those
Okay.
are just considerations. But, I want to emphasize, before you leave your toxic job, make sure you understand all the benefits at your toxic job. Make sure
Yeah.
you read your employee handbook. And if there's no employee handbook, then you can write some of the rules a little bit. Don't dismiss going to your employer, right? Not to your HR department, but maybe directly to a supervisor or a director, and just simply saying, I need time off of work.
Hmm.
No, you don't have to quit initially. You
Mhm.
can slow play your
Yeah.
work, so to speak.
Yes. I appreciate you saying that because, I want to be very clear, and I'm going to just repeat this as many times as I need to, that when I talk about leaving a toxic job, I'm not expecting or trying to convince anybody to just up and leave a job and say, oh, everything's going to be okay. No. Only time I say that is when you are in immediate danger, psychologically, physically. And I'm like, girl, you got to go, right? You're about to have a heart attack. Something's going on, like you're getting really sick. You are becoming very depressed. You're having very scary thoughts. Yes, you need to go, okay? Because your health is
Mhm.
compromised. But if it's not the case, then what we're talking about and what I will continue to talk about is the importance of planning to get ready to go. So it might be next month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. It might be longer than that. But how do you start getting the information to get prepared? So, Candace, you gave so much information, so much valuable information. I'm going to follow up about a few things.
Mm-hmm.
One, can you talk about, so I'm going to highlight, you said really know what your current benefits are first off at the job, right? Look at the employee
Yes.
handbook or find out whatever the benefits you are getting. You also talked about the possibility of taking a break. And I'm so glad you said that, because when I was at the toxic job, I did take a year, right? I took a year break. But for me, I took the break because I knew I didn't want to come back. So I was going to exit plan that whole time and replace my income. But for some Black women, they are so overwhelmed, so beat down, they need a break. They can't even think straight. They're just exhausted. So they
Yes.
need that break to start like getting their mind together, start getting their plan together. Can you talk a little bit more about short-term disability and
Mhm.
FMLA? That question comes up a
Yes.
lot.
Yes. So I've used both benefits before in my life. And so with short-term disability, oftentimes it will give you 6 months, a 6 month period where you are receiving maybe 50% or 60% of your income while you're on a break. Now you have to qualify for that. And there's ways that I talk to people about making sure that, your doctor and your human resources department are in sync prior to you going to human resources, which is
Mm.
important.
Well, can you
Um,
say that again? Say that again, Candace.
yeah, so I just want to make it very clear that I'm not telling anyone here that's watching this video to say, "Ooh, what are my short-term disability benefits? Let me go ask HR." Okay, so we're on the internet, so I have to use some discernment here,
Yeah.
but I would avoid going to your HR department to ask about your benefits. You can start, the first thing you can do is start by just looking at your pay stub, right? We all get direct deposit, but maybe just open up one of those pay stubs one day and see what's coming out and see what those acronyms are.
Mm.
Google is your friend. Google some of those acronyms. Man, what is this AD&D? Well, maybe that's some accidental death and dismemberment insurance. Maybe
Mm.
that's what's else last H. Maybe that's my life and my health benefits, right? So that's the start to say, what do I have? So you can see if you have your disability benefits there. If you
Mhm.
still have some of your new hire packet, you can go through there and look for your short-term disability benefits. But essentially, short-term disability is where you can take up to, this varies. There's no one size fits all. It could be up to 3 months. It could be up to 6 months of time where the insurance company, the short term disability insurance company, the insurer will pay you a portion of your current income.
Mm.
Sometimes, now, and it is because you have a disability, so you can get better. Now,
Mhm.
there's a wide range of what a disability is, and I want Black women to understand that a disability doesn't mean that you're in a wheelchair or
Mm.
you have some permanent cognitive impairment. It may mean that you have short-term cognitive or physical impairments that
Mm.
make you disabled and that um, affect your ability to do your job properly.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
it's very important to look into those things and use discernment when you're
Mhm.
looking into those benefits. So that's short-term disability. Did I explain that
That was
enough?
great. That was
Okay.
great. Okay, that's short-term disability, and then FMLA.
Family Medical Leave Act. That's not something that your job offers. That's a federal benefit, right? It says that if I need care for myself or if I need to care for a loved one,
Mhm.
then I can take this time off of work. Now, the thing with FMLA is you have to have worked for that employer for a certain amount of hours. Essentially, it's about 6 months straight. So if you can be on more than one FMLA at a time, and you can be on FMLA and disability, sort of at parallel times. But if you know you're going to take disability, then you might want to apply, submit paperwork for FMLA prior to that because you have to work a certain amount of hours beforehand. I don't want to get into the weeds of it on the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Um, but you can Google it. You can Google FMLA. You can just Google it. Family Medical
Mhm.
Leave Act. Just Google it right now. I mean, after this live, you can
After
just
this
go,
live, yes. After you
right?
do your
Yeah,
research.
right online. You're a click away. That's not something that your employee offers. That's
Yes.
federal benefit.
Yes. So
Like
with
I
that,
said, your employee handbook will tell you information. If you
mhm.
don't have an employee handbook, then that's okay too, because now you can write some of the rules. They didn't take the time to write the rules. Now you can. You can also just ask for time off. Your employee handbook might say, we offer leave of absences. You just have to ask for it. It might
Ah,
just say as simple as that. right?
Okay.
So that's short-term disability and FMLA. And I wanted to talk about some other considerations people think about. I don't want people to
Mhm.
think I forgot about the other types of insurances that are important to us. So we're talking about healthcare, and I'm sure we'll talk about life insurance at some point. But also there's programs like cancer and critical illness insurance. You know, if you get diagnosed with cancer or a critical illness, oftentimes
Mhm.
those aren't at work, but you can have it independently. But
Mhm.
other things, you can have disability coverage independently. Your job offers it, but you can have disability coverage independently too. So if you're leaving work and you're going to go and become a 1099 and you still want to have protection in case you need time off from work, you can get
Mhm.
your own disability insurance. You know, you can have long-term care insurance. Sometimes employers offer it, not as much now, but you can have long-term care insurance, which is insurance that covers the cost of care if you need it at home or in a facility for an extended period of time, right? There's all types of insurance, and an annuity is an insurance product, and it's a way to protect your money, right? So it's a way to transfer your risk of stock market volatility, your risk of losing money in the market, your in a way to protect your income. So I wanted
Mhm.
to bring up those other types of insurance in case there's someone on here that's, you know,
Yeah.
wondering.
So when you said insurance income, excuse me, my allergies are acting up everybody. If when you say insurance income, is that the annuity?
Yeah, you can. So there's several ways that you can provide income for yourself. One of the
Mhm.
basic ways is using an annuity, and one of the more confusing ways is index universal life policies or IULs, which I don't really want to get into because I want to
Mhm.
keep it very basic here and
Mhm.
not lose concepts of things.
Mhm. Got it. Got it. Okay. So you talked about this a bit about for Black women, the considerations about like their family composition, right?
Mhm.
Let's talk about Black women who may be single
Yeah.
and they don't have a partner, but let's say they have children. So let's talk about important insurance considerations for single Black women, either who have children or not.
Okay, so your life insurance, right? What do you have in place if you were to die tomorrow? If you have children who are dependent on your income, right, and the things that you provide financially for them, what do you have in place in case your income is no longer there for those young people? What do you have in place for someone to actually cover your final expenses? But what do you have? Do you have a house and a mortgage? Do you have enough life insurance to maybe cover the mortgage and leave the children in the same situation that they were in when you were alive in that house, right? Um, so for a single woman, I might only need 15, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 of death benefit coverage. But for one with children, depending on the age of the children, you might want to have 5 to 10 years of income in insurance coverage. And if not
Mhm.
even that, $100,000 of coverage, right? Pass on. I posted on my Facebook page a little bit ago that the Papa Was a Rolling Stone song, and I'm like, I always wondered, did he leave those kids alone, like, or alone, like, because you had to get a credit card to bury you, and you also had
Mhm.
loans, So I always think about that when I think of life insurance. It just goes to
Yeah.
my mind sometimes. And so, leaving, passing on some wealth to your children, right?
Mhm.
They can be
Mhm.
sad, but they don't have to be poor when you die.
Yeah, yeah. And this is very important for us to talk about as Black people because typically we don't talk about issues like this, right? Like this belief that if we talk about it, something's going to happen, that
Mhm,
superstition. And
mhm.
so the importance of us starting to plan for things because we're talking about like generational wealth and we don't want to go into like generational debt. So having those conversations are so
Yeah.
important. So there are actually some comments or questions in the chat that I wanted to address.
Okay. Okay.
Um, okay, so I see. Thank you for this discussion topic. I quit my job August 24th, 2024. I need to protect my sanity. Congratulations. Now, what about for Black women who are that close, right? They're that close to resigning. What, like, how? Well, that kind of leads to my next question. Let's table that. Let's table that. That goes to the next question.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I have held onto my job for medical benefits. I finally quit it on February 16th. Wow. Okay.
No, August
August,
16th, like Saturday.
August 16th. My bad. August 16th. I guess I'll have to figure it out thanks to the topic. So we're gonna circle back around to you, okay? I was overwhelmed, yet knew I was eligible for FMLA and short-term disability. I utilized the 12 weeks and presented a notice to employer. Okay, so this leads to my next question because for Black women who are like burnout, like they are like, they don't have the time to wait. Like they're like, I got to get out of this place. I can't take it anymore. What about Black women who like the timeline is very short, right? Like
Then
maybe
just
they want
quit. Like if it's not bad, then just quit. Like you'll be okay. It's really not the end of the world. This is not. We're not asking to be buried. We're just quitting the job, right? So that's what Candace just, girl, we sitting here chilling, drinking wine. Didn't just quit if it's that bad.
yeah, that's your sister girl. That's sister girl. That's us saying to you,
Girl,
look out for your
that's
health,
that's
right?
both having been in this situation
Yeah.
and eventually going to the other side, so to speak, and making the decision and being
Have a
okay.
decision being made for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
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 So if she's
So,
that, uh, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Candace.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. If somebody's that close to leave or they've already left, what does she? Okay, let's say for somebody who's already left, right? Like this woman in the chat, she's already left. She put in her notice, right? Um, but she has a little bit of time, I guess, before. But how would she address that in terms of her insurance, right?
All right.
If
So with insurance, if you've lost coverage, which you quit your job, you technically lost coverage. There is what's called a guarantee issued time period where you can get health coverage without having to answer the medical question. So that's what we call underwriting without having to go through the underwriting process. So one of the things that what made the Affordable Care Act great was that, no pre-existing conditions. One of the things that made it not so great was the high cost of healthcare because now insurance companies are taking on more risk because now I'm taking everyone with every health condition. So if you just quit a job and you're within those 2 months, or like Lynn says, within 3 days of quitting
yeah,
an employee, go on to, go to healthcare.gov and enter your state and see what health insurance options are there if that's your biggest concern, right? Then, get make sure you have life insurance in place. And you don't need to do anything fancy or IULs, and you don't need to do anything fancy because that's another thing that happens in our community. We want to get fancy. Just get enough life insurance for right now to cover the cost of your burial and maybe leave a little bit to your primary beneficiary for some logistics and administration, right? And then you can talk about the love portion of why we get life insurance and things like that. But if you really need to go, get you and maybe get a high deductible health insurance. So that means that your premium, the money you pay every month, is low. And so since the deductible is high, there's a larger amount of money that you have to pay before the plan starts to pay benefits.
got it. Okay,
You have a
so
higher deductible. So when your deductible is $10,000 a year, the plan might cost less in premium per month than if the deductible was $2,000 per year, which is a lower deductible, but the plan might cost more because when you go use the plan, your risk is distributed differently. So with a high deductible plan, you have more risk, and with a low deductible plan, the insurance company has more risk.
right.
So
Right.
your premium might cost more or less. So if you just had to quit the job, but you want to make sure you have some health insurance in place, you can just get a high deductible health insurance coverage. You can get maybe a major medical coverage that will protect you, for catastrophic situations, right? You're healthy, but what happens if I'm walking down the street and a car hits me? Something unexpected. And then in the future, once your mind settles from the fact that you just quit your job, then you can look into all those other healthcare considerations and how to
Yeah.
protect yourself, your health, your life, the life of others, your money, creating income, and all those things.
Yeah. So just to summarize a little bit. So if you have quit already, or you're like you're this so close to quitting because you're trying to save yourself in some ways, that Candace was saying that you can apply for other insurance, maybe get a higher deductible, so your monthly is lower, but you're able to get that insurance within a 2-month period after leaving that other job where they don't have to ask, not going to ask about pre-existing conditions, right? So I was asking Candace earlier about things I've been hearing about on the campaign stuff and all kind of stuff, and people getting anxious about what does this mean about my insurance, all other kind of stuff. But just knowing that, that's reassuring, that to know within that 2-month period that they're not going to ask you about your pre-existing conditions. And let me just say this too, because sometimes when we get scared about things, we avoid it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I talked about, with Dr. Roche last week, I avoided looking at my money. And I think a lot of Black women avoid looking at our money because we have money issues. But the more we avoid looking at things, the longer we stay in a situation, right? So with insurance, we may feel like, I got to go, I got to get out of here. We leave, but then we feel like shame, guilt, fear, all the other kind of stuff, and we don't follow up. But what we're saying is utilize that 2-month window. You got a window to follow up. So please do that, okay?
So if I can add one more thing to that, oftentimes when I'm talking about insurance, folks ask me about the money portion of it, the budget. How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost? But oftentimes it's important for me to consider it's not your money or your budget that qualifies you, it's your health. So the sooner you can, focus on this and look into your insurance needs and concerns, the better, right? Because insurance is based off of our gender, our age, right? Our health. And as time goes by, we know our health changes. And, so the sooner you can do these things and make these considerations and look into these types of plans, the better, right? Because we can't get in a car accident and then call Geico. We have to have Geico before we do.
Right. We need to be prepared. Exactly.
So it's not your budget that qualifies you or your time period. It's your health that qualifies you. So don't look into it. And it doesn't really take as much time as people think.
Got it. And I also see, hey, Marissa, she signed up for the Affordable Care Act after I resigned. So again, options. And Candace told us about option here. So I have it on the screen.
And that's the same thing. That's what we're talking about, going to like healthcare.gov and seeing what some of the Affordable Care Act plans are in your state. It's just that every state presents it to you differently. Sometimes they have one website where you can go and get all the options on the site. And sometimes they have many partner sites where you can go on a lot of different sites that advertise, insurance agencies that advertise, and you can shop around with them. But either way, you can shop around. It just depends on your state. Again, Pennsylvania has penny.com and I know this because I have to have, as an insurance broker, I don't have an employer. I have to have my own health coverage. So I have to go to Penny and get that coverage.
That's good to know. I said a question came in. How do we feel about HSA accounts?
If you have extra income, extra money to put into an HSA account, which is a health savings account, go for it. I don't see anything wrong with having extra funds available to pay for some of your healthcare expenses. I used the HSA account one time to pay the deductible on a dental implant that I got back here. But the big time when I used the HSA, I had LASIK eye surgery in 2017. So I used some of the money to pay for that, right? Because some of these are things that regular healthcare coverage doesn't cover. Or if you have an HSA account, now you get that health insurance that has a high deductible, because now, you have a $5,000 deductible, which is the amount of money that you must pay first before the plan kicks in. You end up in the hospital with a $3,000 bill. You got $2,500 in an HSA account. Then now you only had to pay $500 for your hospital stay. So I'm not thinking them. I like them.
Okay. And then another question. So this is the woman who resigned as of Friday. My medical benefits in the last day of the month. I may utilize the Costly Cobra as an option. I'll roll over my life insurance policy. Or I'm not sure if that it will or I will. What are your thoughts about that, Candace?
The chat about Cobra. Oftentimes when you resign from a place, your medical insurance does go until the end of that month, the end of the month where your last day was. So yes, Lynn, in this case, would be August 31st. Maybe you ask Cobra as an option. Cobra benefits aren't even really that good. I mean, they're super expensive. I mean, they're designed to make you do something else. Like that's what they're designed to make you go the other way. Just go on to healthcare.gov and get some health insurance and stop playing.
Yeah. I want to co-sign that, because let me tell you the story real quick, right? So when I resigned, I didn't get the letter, Candace, till maybe a couple weeks after I resigned that my insurance benefits had been cut off. So they cut it off effective immediately, right? I didn't even know that. So I want Black women to learn from my experience that if you know that you're about to resign from a job, start doing your research early and find out when do your benefits cut off and what is your transition plan. So I was in a tizzy. I'm trying to hurry up, trying to find things, but I don't want you to be in that situation too. So just be prepared because that just kind of
Mhm,
came out of nowhere.
mhm,
Like, what? Like I'm getting
mhm,
this letter later. I've
mhm,
had no health care benefits for
mhm.
this long. Like what's happening
Right,
here? Okay.
right.
So that was really scary. So let's talk about timeline. So last week with Dr. Roche, we talked about
Mhm,
creating a
mhm.
financial timeline. Let's talk about creating an insurance timeline. What are some important considerations for Black women for creating an insurance timeline if they know, like let's say that it's not immediate, but what do they need to keep in mind?
Okay, so again, all the timelines are different. Your timeline can be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Everyone's timeline, or now, right, as we've discussed. Like I said, the first thing that you need to do is just make sure, just take a moment, breathe, take a day or two of PTO, right, and breathe and make sure that you are using all of your current employer's benefits.
Mm,
Okay. While you are using those benefits, you may be able to extend or get clarity on your timeline. Okay. So I can't emphasize that enough to make sure that you've looked into your employers. And that does not look into your employer's benefits, does not include setting up an appointment with HR. Okay. There are many other ways that you can look into that because the HR is being paid by your employer, not by the employees. It's not crowd funded by the employees, right? HR is paid for by the employer, so HR is going to have the best interest of the employer in mind. All right, I
mm,
just want to
mhm,
make sure that I make that clear. So if you know you're going to quit, on August 16th, and your health insurance goes to August 31st, then go ahead and enroll in some health insurance that you can afford, that healthcare.gov directs you to, right? And start it for September 1st. Or maybe you need a month of savings to start it for October 1st, right?
mhm,
And just, risk those 30 days, right? Go those 30 days. If it depends on how important it is to you, depends on your health, depends on the premium. That's the first thing that I would do.
mhm,
Is just set some things effective. That's the first thing, health insurance, and then your life insurance.
mhm,
Figure out, really think about it. If I die tomorrow, what happens?
mhm. Right,
Right?
right,
Depending on me and who's going to need to do what as a result of my death. And make sure you can
right.
at least cover the bare minimum of those things financially first.
Mhm, mhm,
Get that effective. Get that going. But really, you should have your own private life insurance before you were in this situation.
mhm,
So you should have personal life insurance, whether you have a job, an employer covering it or not, because most of us, when we leave our job, whether it be through retirement, resignation, fire, we're either going to not be able to take that life insurance coverage, or it will be at a significantly reduced benefit. And what you
mhm,
want to avoid is, you know, separating from that employer at 60, at your new health at 60 years old, trying to qualify for life insurance when you could have just had it at a very inexpensive rate when you were 30.
right, right, right. Okay,
It may
okay.
have already been paid up by the time you're ready to quit your toxic job. So I would just suggest everyone have life insurance, whether you're thinking about leaving a toxic employer or not.
Mhm.
Definitely make sure I get some life insurance in place. And
Got
then
it.
other ancillary products could be considered after that. If we're talking about we're stressed out and we want to leave our job, all the other ancillary products could be considered afterwards. Just make sure that we're not leaving any benefits behind.
Okay. Good to
And
know.
also, there are insurance products that can also protect your 401k and your 403b. Now, if you're probably going to go to another employer at some point,
Mhm,
you want to roll that over. But there's
mhm,
also ways to protect your 403b. Not everybody wants to put their 401k or 403b or 457 plan into the stock market. Not
mhm.
everybody wants to do that. Some people want to avoid the volatility of the market and create income for themselves. So there are insurance products that do that too.
Can you briefly give a summary or an overview of what those are? Because I think most people who are not in the insurance world are like, "What? What do you mean?"
Yeah. So an annuity is an insurance product. Some people understand the wonderful benefits of having an annuity, like they can create income that you cannot outlive or certain amount of income for a period of time.
Mhm.
Annuities are the only financial product along with life insurance that can go directly to your beneficiary, bypassing probate and bypassing, being susceptible to creditors and debtors.
Mhm.
Annuities also protect you from market volatility. So they transfer the risk that you have of losing your money. That's what
Mhm.
that's what insurance is transfer of risk. The health
Mhm.
insurance is the risk, it's financial risk due to your health declining. Life insurance is a financial risk due to you dying. And an annuity is financial risk essentially from market volatility.
Okay. Okay. So, what are some precautions that Black women need to keep in mind as they are out here on healthcare gov or other? What are some important things that they need to kind of watch out for? You
If
said
you're
first,
looking for
I
health
love you said
insurance,
don't go to HR first.
would you say?
I loved how you said don't go to HR first because they're working for the company. So that's a very important
Yeah.
consideration that don't think, okay, I'm trying to leave. Let me go meet with my HR and let them know my plan. Right. So that's a very important consideration, like a caution. That was perfect.
Yeah.
What are some other consideration cautions?
What for insurance?
Hmm.
So considerations and cautions.
Yeah. So
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no. So you said about the HR. So that's a very important caution, right?
Mhm.
So as Black women are planning, are there any like road, like anything that might trip them up as they're trying to get their insurance plan together, or maybe certain things that might sound good or look good, but
Mhm.
really it's a big risk?
Yeah, I mean, keep people out your business, right? Especially if you're going to go and use those employer benefits first. Keep people out of your business, right? I mean, you might want to ask questions, perhaps, or have a good relationship with that one lady at work who's always finding a way to like not show up to work that y'all talk about. She's so lazy she don't come to work. Yeah, well, guess what? She's probably using her short-term disability benefits or her FMLA benefits and giggling at y'all.
Ah,
So maybe you want to find out, girl, how you be taking off of work all the time? How many PTO days you got, baby girl? She's not using PTO. She's using FMLA. That's why she worked 3 days a week.
okay.
So you might want to. But
Maybe listen
consideration:
more than you talk, right?
listening, doing some listening,
Yes,
less talking.
yes.
Knowing everything is not the flex you think it is all the time.
Ooh, I like that. In what way? What way, Candace? I love that. What?
Listen,
How do
I
you
ask
say
questions that I know the answer to all the time. So I have to tell people, like when I'm traveling, I have to tell people, listen. If I ask this guy something, don't interrupt. I know we know the answer to it, but that doesn't mean that I'm not asking this guy. So Janet, who's always taking off work, you might know how she's doing it, but just maybe ask some questions.
that?
Oh,
Because it may give you some valuable information, right?
read that employee handbook. Yes, it might give you some invaluable information. Read that employee handbook.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but also considerations financially. You have to consider your numbers, right? How
Mhm.
long can I afford to be out of work? Is this a retirement, an early retirement? Now, am I taking my 401k and creating some income from it? Is
Mhm.
this just a 3 month time period? Do I have enough savings for 3 months to cover what my new health insurance premium would be and my life insurance premium would be, right? And
Mhm.
any other ancillary insurance product I may have. Am I 64 in 3 months? And if I just work and I just stick this out for another 9 months, can I just go on Medicare then?
Hmm.
Right?
Given that you're able to stick it out, right? So, like you
If
said,
you're
or
able
like
to
we
stick it
talked
out.
about before, if you're
Right.
not at risk, right? Something bad, right?
Right.
So you also,
Or how much does a short term insurance cost for 6 months? Or am I healthy enough to go without? I've done that before. I'm not
Mhm.
recommending that, but I've gone
Okay.
without health insurance for like, it wasn't my fault, but for a short period of time. I was not happy about it, but I made it through. Okay.
Got it.
My health is different. I'm healthy, right?
Yeah.
You have to consider deductibles and co-pays and co-insurance and premium. You have to consider your health. With life insurance, you have to consider your final wishes. Do you have dependents? Are there people that are depending on your income? Do you have any debt? What's your health? What's your age? You have to consider money. Are you going to be creating income, or are you going to be chilling? Are you going to be traveling and maybe spending more money, or did you get rid of your apartment and now you went and traveled? So you have to look at your numbers, like Dr. Roche said last week. Look at your numbers. What are my projected expenses? Like, what are my guaranteed expenses? And then what are my lifestyle expenses? What am I doing when I'm taking time off? Am I creating income, or am I traveling? I've done all of these things. I've taken time off using employee benefits. I've taken time off not using any benefits, just chilling, traveling. So there's a way to make all this happen. It's just a matter of, thinking and listening and Googling and watching videos like Dr. Kamal.
Yes. Now, Candace, because you opened the door right now, and that was actually my next question that I just added was, can you share with the listeners, because you said there was different options you took in your own life. So can you share with the listeners just briefly your experience in a toxic job and you leaving and what you did about your insurance? You said there was different options. So can you just share briefly about what you did and how you did it?
I did it all with my toxic employer. And it's very unfortunate because the person who was calling the shots on everything possible was a Black woman.
Oh.
But, she made comments to me too that let me know, Candace, girl, using benefits, right? But there were some things that she did that made it a toxic environment too. So it's it was one of those types of things. I used short-term disability twice, which I needed it, right? My doctor, I had things in my records. I needed it, right? So these are things we can talk about in detail offline, but I used short-term disability twice. Okay. One of those times for 4 months, I used it, and then I used it again for 3 months, receiving half of my income. And it helped me get a lot better. I used FMLA for periods of time. Really, I used it for my mom, but it required extra things of me, and so I used it. My mom had hurt her back. I used that. I also at one point just asked for time off. Really, I threatened resignation. And most of you Black women out here are great at what you do, are very valuable with your employer, and your employer, though they may treat you badly, they don't want to lose you. And so sometimes you can just ask for time off or demand time off or say, I'm going to take time off. And I knew I could take up to 90 days with my health insurance staying in effect. So I just took 90 days with no income, did that, did some traveling, right? So I've used all of those benefits. And as soon as I did leave that employer, I had other life insurance, but I went and got another life insurance policy, right? I switched the policy once I realized that I don't have, I don't have children, right now. So I'm just doing the bare minimum. And so I got health insurance. At that time, when I first quit that job, I went out and got the best health insurance that I could possibly get. Lowest deductible, the PPO, meaning I can go inside and outside of my network. And then I changed that health insurance. I got a little bit of a cheaper one the next year when I realized I didn't use a dime of this health insurance. What about
the overshot?
Yeah. So, and then, I travel a lot. I spend time outside of the United States. So, I have travel insurance as well, which can cover some things. So I reduced my health insurance premium payment by like $150. So I still have health insurance in place, but I increased the deductible, right? So the deductible is how much you pay before the plan kicks in. The copay is how much you pay when you go to the doctor or specialist office right on the spot. The co-insurance is how much you and the insurance company share in payment. And then the premium is how much you pay per month.
Okay. So, and when we talk about, that was really good, Candace, because we were able to hear that there were different ways, different avenues that you took. Okay.
So I'm sorry if I can be clear. So before I quit my toxic job, I took 4 months through the wintertime. I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm in a cold city. So it was nice because I'm like, I look out the window, it's snowing. I ain't got to be bothered.
You all
So I took
cozied
4
up.
months first, and then I went back to work for 4 months. And then I took 3 months, and then I went back to work for like 8 months. And then I went and was like, I think I'm out of here. And the director was like, no. And I was like, well, I got a flight. This is what happened. I was like, well, I got a ticket plan. Like because she wanted to talk about it and keep delaying. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I have a plane
But
ticket.
this is a toxic boss. Want to talk about it?
Yes. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I have a plane ticket booked. And she said, well, write me a letter and take 90 days. It was more detailed than that, but that's essentially what happened. I'm going to quit this job. No. Let's talk about it. Give me a couple of weeks. No, you don't understand. I have a plane ticket booked.
Wow. So you really asserted yourself and you set a boundary with your employer, which is that was a mind trip. Like she didn't know she was being toxic all this time, right? Let's talk about it. But you were able to navigate it and put it to your advantage. Like, okay, give more time, but you kind of knew down the line what you wanted to do.
Yeah, so I took those 3 months, went back, and then at some time within a year, I resigned. So all this, me taking FMLA disability twice, over 7 months total, and all this, a year almost, 10 months total. This was over like a 2-year time period.
Okay.
So I basically had like a contract, full-time employment job, right? Where I went back over like 2 years until I had enough. So I milked them for everything I could.
Yeah. So you worked it, right? So thinking about the timeline might be longer for some people, but it's kind of like you dipped your toes in the water, then you came out, then you got a little more into the water, you came out. But you can kind of extend that out. So Candace, what would you say to a Black woman who's watching us right now? And let's say she's like the woman who commented earlier, but she hasn't resigned yet. She is dreading her job. She can't stand the job. Her coworkers and or maybe her supervisor. And like you said, this has come up a number of times on my channel, all skin folk and kinfolk. You might be in that situation, but the point is you cannot stand your job and you are experiencing physical and or psychological harm. You might be watching this right now on a Sunday, experience that Sunday dread, like I got to go back to that toxic job. I can't stand it. So let's say you're experiencing all that, Candace, right? You're watching this, you're like, I can't stand this place, but I got to stay because it got good benefits. It got some good benefits. I got to stay, but I'm getting sick. What would you say?
If it's making you sick and all that, you're just making an excuse to stay. I mean, then quit that job. Like, I listen. That is the short answer, right? Because that's what you want to do anyways, quit that job.
Yeah.
Or tonight you can just go on healthmarkets.gov, or you can contact me. I'm sure you have all my links there, and get some consultation to say, what do I need to do to be out by September 1st? I want to put my 2 weeks notice in tomorrow. Now, listen, if you feel like you don't even want to do the 2 weeks notice, that's a whole nother level of wanting to quit. Okay. But, you want to put that 2 weeks notice in tomorrow, be out by September 1st or whatever, after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
Book a consultation with me or someone.
Mm-hmm.
Open up that pay stub, see what your current benefits are, how much, go to healthmarkets.gov and get you some health insurance.
Mm-hmm. So take action, basically.
Some life insurance.
Yeah.
And take action because, your 401k, your 403b, that's just not going to go poof into the air. The administrator of it will still have it. And then maybe over the course of 30, 60, 90 days, they may move it to a brokerage account. When they move it to whatever financial, right? Some of y'all get your accounts moved to Fidelity, right? Sometimes it's like Lifeline Financial, right? It's still there and you'll still be able to do all the same things that if you reacted today or if you react in 35 days. I'm not saying don't react. I'm just saying if you need to quit now, put that 2 weeks notice in, go get you some health insurance, go get you some life insurance, and baby, be out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, your money is going to be a big factor and all that. But if you're at that point, I'm going to take a word from Marissa's. Your life cannot be replaced if it's at that point. Please leave.
That is so true. Very well stated, Marissa. That is so true. I want to co-sign that too. And to add on what you were saying, Candace, is to take action. So I think a lot of us, when we get into that state, like you can't stand the job, you're stuck there. You feel stuck because you're in that feeling, that emotional state, like I can't stand it, can't stand it. And you stay there, stay there, stay there. And you have to think about, if I keep talking about it and I keep ruminating about it and I keep just staying there, nothing's going to change. I will continue to stay at this job. But thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to get out of the situation? Even though it might be scary to me, I might not know what's going to happen, but at least you're not in that job. So what we're talking about is, how do you plan for that? So you talked about, check out your current benefits, try to see what it might look like to get other benefits, book a consultation with Candace to find out what your options are. Don't just up and just whatever, hopefully, but really get informed and take action, because when we don't take action, again, that contributes to that sense of being helpless and hopeless, that there's nothing you can do about it. Yet it is. You do have options. You do have agency, even though you don't, right? Even though it feels like I'm scared, I'm terrified. Yes, you more than likely will be scared, will be terrified. But that doesn't give you the reason to say, I'm going to stick it out, because then you'll be even, that fear is going to last even longer. It's not going to get better the longer you stay, it's going to get worse. Okay. So you have to figure out, what are the steps I need to take? Who are the people who can walk with me through the fear? Candace, right? Who are the people who can walk me through the fear, so I am at least informed and I have a good plan in place? So let's keep that in mind. Now, I saw a question.
Essentially, consider your risk. Do you have a financial risk? Is your financial risk associated with your income? Is your financial risk associated with your health?
Yeah.
What is it associated with? And whatever the top 3 most important things are, then take action.
Yes. Yes. I appreciate that. And I see a question. What if you need to have coverage for your college student, but you're ready to quit?
Healthcare.gov, book a consultation with me, but get some health insurance for your college student.
Okay. So that's not a reason to stay, basically.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
When we talk, Dr. Kamani, we know each other through Stephanie Perry. And oftentimes within her vicarious and within the Exodus Summit community, we talk about travel. And so, what was my point? I forget what it was, but we know each other. I was going to relate travel to something, but
about having a plan, having options, staying at a job doesn't mean you have to. Getting insurance is not the only place. The job's not the only place you can get insurance.
Oh, okay. So one of the things we learn is, especially like with capitalism and society, one of the reasons why the system is set up this way is because, what good is capitalism if we're not all working for someone else? And we're not all working. So, healthcare is one of the main reasons why we're taught to stay with an employer. And that's why there's so much political legislation around it. It's one of the things, healthcare, right? Health and the border, right, are the 2 main things, right? And so it's just fear mongering. And that was one of the biggest things with President Barack Obama, was the Affordable Care Act, making sure that we could all get health care without pre-existing conditions. And so your employer knows that you need health care, right? You walk around and tell everybody you need health care, but in 2024, we can go and purchase our health care, just like we can go on JB's Amazon and get stuff and click, get it sent to us. And not y'all, because I don't, but we can go on health. We can use the internet and seek out our resources and do the same thing. We don't need to stay at an employer for health insurance.
Yes. You don't have to stay at an employer to get health insurance.
Nor do we need Cobra. Nor do we need Cobra.
Oh, no, that's a setup. And I love that you called it out. You called it out, Candace. It's fear mongering. So one of the ways that they keep us in these toxic jobs is this fear about, you won't be able to get another job, which is completely false. And you need this health insurance with these good benefits. So you, again, keeps us at the job. And I think when we think about other generations, like older generations, that fear mongering, they start sometimes, the older generation, sometimes, I'm not saying everybody, but sometimes there's this projection of the fear mongering. So, oh my God, you can't leave that job. That's a good job with good benefits. And so for you, what I think I hear is don't share that information with people who are fear mongering or who are projecting that fear onto you, because you need to do what's best for yourself and for your family and think about the risk, right? So the risk of staying compared to the benefits of staying. So if the risk, meaning your health, outweighs the benefit, then you need to start making your plans, right?
Yeah. And girl, your job and your situation, your mental state is clouding your perception of things. It's not as bad of a situation as you think it is.
Yes, that fear. Yep. So important. So, Candace, as we're winding down, can you please share with the audience what are the services that you offer and how you can be contacted? And also, I put Candace's contact information description section of this video, but I also want her to tell us.
Okay, great. So I offer life insurance. So all the variety of life insurance options that there are, from whole life and universal life insurance, which is permanent insurance, to term life insurance. I help folks with Medicare supplement plans. So that's going to be for your folks who are 65 and older. I help folks with long-term care insurance, which is when you need care for an extended period of time at home or in a nursing home facility. And I help folks with retirement income and savings through annuities. And I also help folks with some of the ancillary, what I call ancillary products, like health insurance, critical illness insurance. You know, if you have like end stage renal disease or cancer insurance. Disability insurance, you know, you can buy your own private disability insurance, which is insurance that pays you an income if you cannot work. And then indemnity plans, right? Hospital indemnity plans. So, you know, I'm a healthy individual, but I just need something for right now if I end up in a hospital that will pay me benefits in a hospital, right? So I help folks with those things. And I do that through partnering with a variety of insurance companies, A-rated insurance companies all across the United States. I'm licensed in 39 states. And I also provide consultations for folks who are looking to make sure that they take advantage of all of their work benefits before they leave, just as I told you I've done in the past. So, and more so from a contractual step-by-step process, right? Not just, oh, do you have this? Use it. Like, no, girl, here's the paperwork, and here's the timing, here's when, here's why, how,
The
and here's
roadmap, creating a roadmap.
yeah. And here's
Good.
what for this, or
Yeah.
make sure you do it this particular way.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
Janet is doing it that way.
You said what?
Because Janet is doing it that way. You know, the woman at work that we can't figure out how she's always like not at
Oh,
work, but she has a job.
your coworker, right? She's
Yeah.
right. You're right. So set
Yeah.
up your own plan. So Candace, can you tell me your website again? Because I want to broadcast that on the screen.
CostonInsurance.com. Coston, like my last name, insurance.com.
Okay, so I'm going to put this on the screen. And I think that's incredible what you said about working with people about as they're thinking about leaving. Let's look like I'm going to walk with you to talk to you about the steps to keep in mind, right? So that's golden. So please check out Candace. Candace, as I'm about to read the community chat, can you share a little bit about Exodus Summit and also your travel? Because I just found out from talking to you that you do a lot of traveling. So can you just share that really briefly with Black women? Because again, I want Black women to know there's a much bigger world out here for us than just the like day to day, like you and your situation. You're like, there's a bigger world outside for us that we can look forward to, not just that tunnel vision, like this is all my life is. Like it's so much bigger than that. So can you share just a little bit about Exodus Summit and about travel? And I'm going to go through the community chat.
So I've been involved in the Exodus Summit community really since, 2020, really since it really started. I've been to all of the virtual summits. I've been to all three of the actual yearly Exodus Summit meetups. So not the meetups like within, your local city, but the actual international meetups, Cancun, Morocco, South Africa, in that order. And I've formed a lot of great relationships through Exodus Summit. Um, I'm in a lot of community. I'm going to just, name some women's name. One of them's in here right now. My girl Diamond, my sister Diamond, Deanda, Abba, Anita, um, Odessa, Casey, Francis. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out. Danica,
It's a lot of people.
Janine, I formed a lot of positive relationships that have just like sort of been very supportive in the things that I've always liked to do. I've always liked to travel. I've always liked to just solo travel. But some of the things and the women in the community have just given me that confidence, right? This is a whole community of everything that we need. We're like a whole like universe. Everything that we need and all the resources we need are right here within the community, which just
Yeah.
shows you, Black woman who wants to quit your job, how awesome you are and how much opportunity is really there for you. And then the resources of Exodus Summit. I mean, I met you there.
Yeah.
I've seen Marissa all over Exodus Summit. We've never talked personally, but I've seen her all throughout the community. And like I said, my YouTube channel where I don't post regularly, but I have videos on there that are informative. I use them to send to people that I'm planning to talk to as a reference. I have trips. I mean, the next year of international travels are planned because of the relationships that I have with the women in the Exodus Summit community.
That's
And I wanted to be out in the streets with those women, and that's a part of why I quit that job. But for me, I had always had my insurance license. I did it full time for quite a few years, but some things led me to go and put myself back in toxic situations with employers, and I quickly realized no. But since I know health insurance and I know contracts, I use those before I even heard of people talking about using your benefits. I started paying attention to a white woman. Sorry, but that's a white woman, and
yeah.
how she never came to work and she never did anything. She always had a job, and just the games. I didn't play those games to that level, but I'm like, well, what do I need to learn from this white woman
Mm.
at this
Mm-hmm.
job who is
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of her benefits?
Right. Right. Right.
And so hopefully I'm answering your question about Exodus Summit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a great, a positive, definitely a positive addition to my life. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of my social network.
Yeah. And okay, so let me just
And
for
also
people.
all the women I even named are of all age ranges. Kioka, Dominique, like they're from 29 to 69.
Wow. Wow.
All age ranges of women.
Yes. So just briefly, Exodus Summit is a community for Black women around the world. Again, different age
Mhm.
ranges come
Mhm.
together to support one another in terms of travel. If you want to travel other places, if you want to relocate anywhere around the world, Exodus Summit was created by Stephanie Perry and Rashida Dow. They have an Exodus Summit Facebook group. You need to show that you are a Black woman to get into the Facebook group.
Mhm.
Also, there are Exodus Summit summits, right, every fall. And so
Yeah.
that's what Candace is referring to. So if you want information about that, I'll put that in the description section as well. But that's a resource for you. But again, as Candace was saying, that's her community. And that
Mhm.
helps her see, like, wow, there's the beauty of life. Because
Mhm.
again, when you're in a toxic job, it makes you dread not only waking up, it makes you dread your life. And that's not the life that you want to live. It really isn't, because you're fighting every day. You're fighting every day to wake up. You're fighting every day to just make it. And you said something, Candace, that I could so appreciate. You said that, you know, you you were working and then you had to go back to the toxic situation, a toxic or job, and you're like, this is not the life that I want for myself either. And for me, that's the same thing that I recognize through this process. I don't want to go back to any job like that,
Mhm.
or any, like, I love working for myself, but each
Mhm.
person is different. Some people
Mhm.
might want to go back to a job, and my hope is that my channel shares information with Black women about, if you decide to go to another job, the hope is that you don't end up in another toxic job, because not all jobs are toxic, but that you
Mhm.
are watching my videos, and it helps you recognize the signs of a toxic job even before you start it, right? So don't even take that toxic job. But keep in mind what is best for you. Okay. Again, some people want to work for themselves, some people don't, right? It's up to you. Okay. But
So
know that you have those options.
if I could add just one more thing about the community of Black women, any community of Black women that you can get in, I'm going to advocate for Exodus Summit, obviously. But, it just also helps you see that it's it's all right for you, Black woman, to have a great life, to live a great life, to be happy. I talked to a client the other day, and she was just talking about her nonprofit and how she wants a certain quality of things, and she's like, apologize to me. I'm like, there's no need to apologize to wanting nice things and to having
No,
nice things. So you
no.
don't have to apologize for hating that job, wanting to quit that job. You don't have to apologize for having enough money to quit that job or not having enough money to quit that job. You don't have to apologize for wanting a great life. You don't have to apologize for living out that fantasy that you had as a little girl walking down the street of traveling the world, or even traveling the world, and being able to have a job and make income to do it, or traveling the world because of your non-toxic job, right? So, it really is okay to live out your dreams and to be happy and go and get all of your heart's desires. And some of that starts with quitting that job.
Right. So look at your life, do an assessment of your life. Look at, is this a life that I want for myself? If it is not, identify what are the things that are contributing to you not having the life that you want. And then start thinking about what would that life look like? And how
Mm-hmm.
do I make steps to get there? Because yes, there is something different for us. And I think that's why Exodus Summit is so well received by so many Black women, because it's showing us a different way to be, that
Yeah.
you don't have to live like this. There's other ways for you to live, and you're in community with other Black women who are there to
Mm-hmm.
uplift you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have that difficult, but you're with other Black women who are there to uplift you and
Mm-hmm.
showing you there's another way.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to read the community chat, everyone, before we wind down. I want to thank everybody for checking in and tuning in today and commenting. So as you're watching this video, please give this video a thumbs up, because it lets YouTube know to suggest
Yeah.
other Black women. So there's so many Black women out here who are struggling in a toxic job. Candace and I are here to show you. Marissa, all of us are here to show you there's
Diamond up in here.
yeah, there's enough. You don't have to stay in a toxic job, okay? Even though it's scary, I am providing different resources for you to help you get that plan together, okay? So
Mm-hmm.
again, give this video a thumbs up, share this video with at least 2 other Black women, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and turn on the notification bell so you know when I go live. Okay, so I'm gonna read the chat. Good evening, sisters. Glad to join another session of learning and sharing. Thank you for tuning in. I see you, Diamond. Good evening, ladies. Hello, Marissa. We talked about her comment. Okay, so Marissa talked about signing up for affordable care. Hey, Latrice, good to see you. Latrice did a really good interview. Check it out on her channel, talking about the life cycle for the Black woman employee. So check that out as well. Let's see. We talked about, oh, that is a great point. It's just a job. The level of pressure I put on myself to stay because my identity was tied to my role. Oof, yes. So Black women, as you're watching this, part of the assessment of you looking at your life is how much of your identity is tied into your job position, your job title, what you do. When you meet people, is that one of the first things you talk about? That's a telltale sign that your identity is tied up to your job. Okay, be mindful of that. Hey, Natasha, Sheffy. Hi, Dr. Kamani, Candace, and beautiful warrior women. Be well and great. Peace and love. Oh, thank you. And you know what's so funny? I was literally thinking about this the other day, Candace, because when we think about what we've gone through as
Mm-hmm.
women, Black women, like many of us have gone through very challenging things in our lives. So when we think about a toxic job, that feels very challenging. I invite us to think about what are some other challenging things you've gone through in your life and you have persevered, you have found a way
Right.
out.
Right.
Use that as social proof, as proof to yourself that you can also move through this too. And I was thinking about the women in my family, and I call them warrior women because they are like very dominant women. And I had to like tap into that, like, wait a minute, that's
Mm-hmm.
my DNA. So think about what are the things or who are the resources or who can you, or think about how can you pull yourself and really connect to not only your greatness, but knowing that you have options. It might be your ancestors. Think about what they went through and how they were able to persevere. Tap into that as well. Okay. Let me see. We talked about that. Okay.
Also, I want women to know, if I could just interject here,
Yes,
that like,
absolutely.
especially if you have the numbers that allow this, you could just chill. You can quit your job, get your health insurance, and then chill, sleep,
Yeah.
and chill. You
Yeah.
could travel, right? On my different times off, I've traveled, and some of them I chill. You can just sleep and chill until you get enough rest for your brain to be able to sift through all the nonsense and clear all the nonsense and clutter out for you to see clearly on what your next steps need to be.
Yes. What a revolutionary way of thinking. It reminds me of the Nat
Right.
Ministry. Talks about, as Black people, we've been sold the lie, which is a remnant of slavery. We've been sold the lie that we have to continue to grind and our worth is attached to our work. And that's not true. And so how do we reject that and take time when we need it for ourselves? So I appreciate that too. Let's see. I recommend HSA. Use it as another investment vehicle. You can use them at any time or save them for years later. I think college students usually have the option to get school health insurance, which is usually good from my experience. Yeah, I had school insurance at one point too. Yeah, when I was in college, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So that might be an option. So maybe ask your child to see if they have insurance, or you might want to see for your child that they have college health insurance might be an option. That's right. Not to mention that tax write-off. Cobra is horrible. Yes. No. Cobra's not worth it. Too expensive to continue with co-op with premium. Get your
Out
own
of pocket premium. OOP, out of
premium.
pocket.
Yes, yes. Cobra is a joke, my opinion. I may use my HSA to pay my Cobra fees. I love HSA accounts. I use mine as another investment account. When I knew I was about to resign, I made all of my appointments and made sure my prescriptions were filled for at least 90 days. That is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yes, yes,
She
yes.
did. She did.
Yes, take a moment to breathe. We can, in such a panic, doing these things. Yes, so let's breathe and center ourselves and know that there's time for us, right? So you may watch this video and might feel a little overwhelmed, like I don't know where to start. Maybe pause, right? Come back to the video. Maybe take what Candace is saying, maybe take it in like baby steps and come back to the video, back and back and back. And as you're moving forward on this journey, pause and take a breath as you're moving through the fear. So Glenn Mazzini said an excellent quote that I love. She said, fear is not a stop sign. It is a gate. We walk through it. So as you're
Mm-hmm.
walking through the gate, pause sometimes. Okay. It's not a race. Okay. This is the best advice for everyone currently working. Knowing what kind of health care and life insurance are very important decisions. Also, your 403B. Look into it. You will be surprised how much it will help you later.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Let's see. Healthcare attempts to chain us to toxic jobs, but you have options. Resist the fear. Resist it.
Resist.
No.
Resist.
Yes.
Resist.
No,
Yeah.
I reject that lie. No. Okay. So, everyone, as you're watching this video, please again give this video a thumbs up. I want to thank Candace again for being my guest today. Share this video with at least 2 other Black women. So, as I said before, there's so many Black women out here who are struggling in a toxic job. Please share this resource with her, right? We talk about Exodus Summit as a community. This is a community here. I invite you to also help Black women liberate themselves from toxic jobs and do well, right? Not just be out here like, oh my God, like Candace and I, we both left a toxic job. We're doing well. Candace, let me ask you this question. It's a trick question, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Okay. Do you regret leaving your toxic job?
No, like life's been so much better since I left that place. I mean, part of me wants to say I wish I left earlier, but no, I took advantage of them benefits. Like I milked
Ah,
those people. So I left right at the
yes,
perfect timing.
yes,
No.
yes. And I wanted to ask you that trick question. I promise. I did not ask her. I was going to ask you that because
No.
I want Black women to hear, and I say this, and I want you to know, there's not one Black woman guest that I've had on this channel, and I've had a lot. Not one has ever said I regret leaving that toxic job. The first response you said is the response that I often say too. The only regret I have is that I didn't leave sooner, but I was so scared. I was so scared. But I have to
Mhm.
practice self-forgiveness because I didn't know what, but whatever. And I just want Black women to know you will not regret it. You will not
Mhm.
regret it. But the importance of planning is so important. And so, Candace, I'm going to give you the last word. So, as we're winding down, or as we're about to Shut it down. You have the last word.
I loved when I look back at it, I loved the entire process of quitting my job or preparing to quit. I loved the whole process. I mean, I just loved it. I even love some of the weird looks that I often got from oftentimes other Black women, but other people when I like came back to work. You know, I disappeared out of nowhere and I came right back to this office y'all had saved for me because you know the law says you have to save this office for me while I'm out on my disability. So I loved it. I would just say do the best that you can to enjoy the time period of quitting your job. These checks is coming in, but I don't care nothing about nothing y'all talking about. So just a different, mindset. Enjoy the process of leaving that job. Again, those checks coming in, but you don't care nothing about what they talking about. And the next thing that I would say, and this is not even in regards to leaving a toxic job. This is just in regards to insurance. Stop waiting. It's not your budget or your time period that qualifies you for insurance. It's your health. It's your health, right?
Yeah.
So, insurance is often health, life, health and life insurance is based off your health, just like your car insurance is based off of the condition of your car. So stop waiting and look into these things now. That would be my final, and form community, even with insurance options. Just form community so you have someone to talk to about some of these important decisions and somebody to joke at and throw jokes their way when it comes to all the things you hate about your job, right? And all the things that you want to do in your imagination. So just enjoy the time period and stop waiting for your insurance needs. Look into them. It's not scary and as hard as you think. Yeah.
And Marissa said, I love this. Let them look, right? So let them look at you side eye as you are trying to figure, as you're navigating the system, right? Let them look at you side eye.
Especially older women would look at me like they were so upset with me. I loved it.
That's a good reframe, right? Like, okay, you might be looking at me, but I don't even care. I don't even care. In fact, it's kind of funny to me. But I think it speaks to we all have different personalities. We have different ways of seeing situations. But you are really able to see and take a negative situation and like, I'm gonna flip this. I'm gonna flip this. I'll make this work for me. And I'm enjoying this process. So I appreciate seeing that the range that we might have in terms of how we might respond to or see situations.
Like I would giggle a little bit, and it's been a bit since I left that employer, and I kept this a secret for a long time. But during the pandemic, I worked remotely and I traveled across the country for a long period of time, and I have pictures of myself returning to work because I'm pretty sure my department only had to come back to work when I'm finding this out. I'm in like Oregon, and I have pictures of myself laughing, like, am I getting fired today? Do these people know? Or what about when I come? So just enjoy. You're gonna quit anyway. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Right. Like you have an inner secret. Don't tell people. Don't tell people your secret. Don't tell them you're trying to leave. Don't tell nobody at the job. Don't tell them, right?
Well, your value to the employer. So what these people gonna do when I roll up out of here out of nowhere?
Right. The joke's gonna be on you, right? Right. So yes. So again, the importance of us planning, getting our information together. I will have again. This is Candace's information. If you want to schedule a consultation with her, please reach out to her. I have all her information in the description section. Subscribe to her channel as well. I also had that listed. That'll be in the description section. So everyone, I want to say again to you, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, share this video with other Black women so we can help liberate her too. There's so many of us out here struggling. I don't want anybody to struggle. I don't want that. So let's think about ways that we can prepare and know of our options and know that we have agency. And I want to leave on this. Just like Harriet Tubman, she had that North Star and she walked in silence. You walk in silence. You talk to people you trust. Don't tell everybody what your roadmap is to the North Star. Please be mindful of that. Okay. Okay, everyone. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you later. Candace, if you could stay on for a moment. Bye, everyone.